Hi friends, this reflection is for the third Sunday of Easter. This particular Sunday, we continue to hear the accounts from Acts of the Apostles, and if you have not read the Acts, which is practically the history of the early church, you do not know what you're missing. In the Acts of the Apostles, which is chapter 5, we hear about St. Peter, who is arrested because he continues to preach about Jesus and his resurrection. And Peter's bold response is, we must obey God rather than men. And I think in our society today, it has been frowned upon that, when people decide to obey God, there's a problem. Because society continues to say, oh, you don't need God for this, you don't need God to do that, or we could be chased around, we could be mocked, we could even get canceled, we could lose our jobs if we do things in obedience to the will of God. I think what's also important too is that we have to understand that we have to learn to discern what is from God and what is not. First and foremost, we must remain confident in Christ's love even when we are at our weak humanity. In the Gospel from John, we hear the account of Peter and Jesus when Jesus asked him 3 times, do you love me? And what Jesus unleashes from John is his deep and profound love. Now, let's go back a little bit. What happened before this event? You had Simon Peter, who Jesus said that he was going to get the keys to heaven. And of course, in time, he's going to become the first pope. And he denied Jesus 3 times during the events surrounding his passion and his death. And when Peter resurrected, after he helped him and James, John, and Andrew to catch fish, they sit around and ask, he uses the humility that Peter had to be contrite in his love for Jesus, that he is willing to feed his sheep. And I think it's often that we could be like Peter at times. Like, we're going to deny him and we're going to think that there's nothing that we can do. But I think what also, too, is that the other thing that we have to understand is that St. Paul reminds us that we should never be ashamed of the gospel. It is the power of God for salvation to everyone who has faith. Now, why has the faith survived for so long? St. John Paul II puts it well when he says, Christian martyrs of all times, including our own, have given and continue to give their lives in order to bear witness to the faith, in the conviction that every human being needs Jesus Christ, who has conquered sin and death and reconciled mankind to God. What I think this beloved Holy Father tells us is that the reason why we have the Catholic Church still exists is because of the courageous witness of many men and women. And there have been quite a bit that have gave their lives because they were witness to the truth. Let's face it. There are going to be times when we are called upon to share the gospel. Are you ready to do it? Do you love God more than what the world offers? There will be times when we have to use our talents, when our faith must be at the forefront. It cannot be hindered. It needs to come out. St. Augustine reminds us that the truth is like a line. All you need to do is just let her roam around and roar. For St. Peter, when we read this account from Acts, he came a long way from being this person that probably was a little bit challenged by Satan. He felt that it was over. And let's face it, he wasn't the only apostle that abandoned Jesus or denied him. You know, practically all but John abandoned Jesus. But the good news is, there's always the beautiful gift of Jesus' mercy and the sacrament of reconciliation. And this great sacrament of mercy must be sought by all believers. So friends, as we continue to celebrate the Easter season, in light of the reading for this Sunday, are we ready to be contrite? Are we prepared to be witnesses to the faith? Let no opportunity go to waste. Let's not be afraid. Be a witness and obey God rather than man. Christ is risen. He is risen indeed. God bless.